Rachel White was caught cheating by her husband, David Smith, right at the entrance of a hotel. In a panic, she called me, pleading for help to distract him. Later, her lover used secretly snapped photos of their affair to blackmail her for a huge sum. Desperate, she hid everything from David, selling personal valuables and even embezzling money from his company to pay off the blackmailer. When David discovered the truth, his anger erupted. But Rachel twisted the story, blaming me instead, claiming I was envious of her marriage, that I had orchestrated the scandal, and even used the photos to extort her. Fueled by rage, David attacked me mercilessly, breaking my arms and legs, stuffing me into a sack, and throwing me into the Hudson River. Then, in an instant, I woke up, reborn on the very day Rachel had her affair. I sat on the familiar living room sofa, dazed, surrounded by the decor I knew so well. Memories of the searing pain, the broken limbs, and the suffocating dread still haunted me. Most of all, I couldn't erase David's twisted fury or Rachel's smug grin from my mind. The hatred burned fiercely inside me. This second chance was my opportunity to change everything. No sooner had I resolved this than my phone rang. It was Rachel. "Bestie, I'm not coming home tonight. If David asks, just say I'm with you," she said casually. I didn't hide my irritation. "Off to another hotel with your little secret again?" Rachel laughed, smug and unrepentant. "You know me. I've been holding back for days. Tonight, I'm letting loose." I deliberately raised the stakes. "Aren't you worried David will find out? You know his temper. If he learns the truth, it won't end well." She snapped back, venom dripping from every word. "He's been sneaking around with his secretary, so why should I play the faithful wife? I'm keeping a man, and I'll have his child. When David's older, I'll tell him the truth, that the child he raised isn't his. Won't that crush him?" Her words cut deep. Recently, Rachel had uncovered proof of David's infidelity and dragged me to his company to confront him. She expected an apology. Instead, he slapped her in front of everyone. "Everything you have comes from me," he said coldly. "Even if I entertain a few women, what can you do? Don't forget the prenup. Try to divorce me, and you get nothing." He even cut off her credit card, leaving her helpless. That night, she knelt by his bed, crying, blaming me for pushing her to confront him. David forgave her, but from that moment, his resentment toward me festered. And Rachel, vindictive as ever, found herself another lover to satisfy her spite. Both of them were irredeemable. After hanging up, I played the recording of our call. In my previous life, Rachel had destroyed me. Now, this evidence was my leverage. Minutes later, my phone rang again. David's voice thundered through. "Grace Miller, where did you take my wife this time?" His fury was palpable, but I cut him off. "Your wife isn't a child, and I'm not your family's nanny. If you can't find her, that's your problem, not mine," I said, hanging up before he could react. In my last life, I had shielded Rachel, only to be slandered and left to die. Not this time. I knew David's temper meant that when he discovered her betrayal again, he would likely take it out on me. I had to be ready. Around 6, my husband, Eric Johnson, returned home. "Honey, why are you packing a suitcase?" he asked, frowning. I shot him a sharp look, saying nothing. In my past life, I had leaned on him for support. But when Rachel destroyed me, Eric sided with her, calling me deceitful, forcing a public divorce, and abandoning me to save his business ties with David. Worse, I later learned Eric had secretly met Rachel at hotels countless times. The man I once adored now made me sick. Before I could answer his question, my phone rang. Rachel's panicked, angry voice cut through the room. "Grace, I told you to stall David. What are you doing? He's at the Holiday Inn with people to catch me. If he finds me in bed with someone, I'm finished." "Not my problem," I replied coldly and hung up. Eric stared, stunned, as the truth of my rebirth and my plans remained mine alone. Eric blinked, stunned, unable to comprehend what was happening. "Honey, what are you doing? Rachel's your friend. How can you just let her walk into trouble?" he asked, panic in his voice. I cut him off, my tone icy. "You know David's temper. If he catches her in bed with someone, she's finished. Don't you?" "You seem awfully concerned about Rachel," I interrupted, raising an eyebrow. His face flushed, awkward. "I'm not worried about her. You two are close." "Sure, what she did was wrong, but we can't just watch her crash and burn, can we?" I wasn't fooled. His panic was as much about his own position, afraid David would lash out at us and damage his business, as it was about Rachel. If you truly want to help her, go now. Holiday Inn, not far from here. Don't make a mistake, I said, my voice hard. He hesitated, then sighed, running out the door. I returned to my packing, waiting quietly. By 7, the front door was thrown open with a violent kick. David stormed in, flanked by a dozen burly men. Behind them trailed Rachel, her eyes red and wet, and Eric, his expression dark. David's gaze locked on me, blazing with fury. He stepped forward and slapped me across the face. You vile woman! How dare you set up my wife? Today you die, he roared. He knocked me to the ground and kicked me repeatedly. I gasped, crying out. I didn't, she was the... Before I could finish, Rachel lunged, striking me hard, tears streaming down her face in a display of false outrage. Grace, I trusted you. I treated you like a sister. And you, jealous of my marriage, you drugged me, humiliated me, recorded it all. Do you even have a conscience? She shrieked. If it weren't for my husband trusting me, I'd never be able to recover from this. Our friendship ends here. We are nothing to each other now, she spat. Eric stepped forward, kicking me as well, fury etched on his face. Grace, I can't believe the woman I married could be so vile.
You fooled me.
If I'd known, we'd never have married. I want a divorce. You don't deserve to be my wife. Pain and betrayal surged through me, but I stood firm. I'm innocent, I shouted. David yanked me up by my hair, slapping me again. Innocent? Your husband and best friend are both accusing you.
Who will believe you?
You're nothing but worthless scum. Killing you would be too easy. I'll ruin your name first. His men dragged me to Community Square. Let the whole neighborhood see what this vile woman really is, David commanded. By the time we arrived, a crowd had gathered. Evening strollers paused, curious about the commotion. David forced me to my knees in the center of the square and ordered a live stream to capture every humiliating moment. He threw dirty water on me, literally and figuratively, while shouting accusations. Rachel sobbed theatrically, playing the innocent wronged wife, and Eric yelled for divorce. Neighbors whispered, pointing and recoiling. I know her. Grace Miller? I thought she was sweet, but she's poisonous. She tried to ruin her best friend out of jealousy. Heartless. Venomous. She deserves punishment. This is a disgrace to the neighborhood. With someone like her here, property values will drop. The online live stream was just as brutal. My name was trending, an internet mob forming in real time. It was obvious. David had orchestrated this, paying to amplify the story and destroy me entirely. But I didn't panic. This time, I welcomed the chaos. David yanked my hair again, his face inches from mine. Keep defying me and you won't survive. Even in death, I'll make sure everyone remembers only your shame. Before he could continue, a commanding voice cut through the crowd. Enough! A tall, imposing young man appeared, flanked by a team of professional bodyguards. In moments, David's men were disarmed and groaning on the ground. Relief washed over me. Finally, someone was here to intervene. Rachel's face twisted with anger. How dare you? Do you know who my husband is? Eric's voice quavered. You fools. You attacked Mr. Smith's men. Are you crazy? They rushed forward, trying to protect David, desperate to regain his favor. But David suddenly spun on them, his face dark with fury. He slapped Rachel and Eric across the face. Silence, he roared. The crowd, Rachel, Eric, and even the live stream viewers froze in shock, stunned into silence. The square buzzed with whispers and shock as David forced a stiff smile and gave a small, uneasy bow to the young man. Daniel Miller, what brings you here? He asked cautiously, his voice edged with tension. The sight of David appearing almost deferential left the crowd speechless. Most neighbors had no idea who Daniel was, but viewers on the live stream immediately recognized him. That's Daniel Miller, heir to the Miller family, one of the wealthiest dynasties in New York. Why is he here, and with so many bodyguards? David may have money, but next to the Millers, he's nothing. No wonder he looks nervous. Millers hold major shares in his company. Daniel ignored David completely and walked straight to me, gently lifting me from where I had been pushed down. His eyes darkened as he took in the bruises and swelling on my face, though his voice remained soft. Who did this to you? He asked. I pointed at David and the others. All of them. His gaze turned icy, sweeping across the assembled men. Then he turned back to me, voice gentler. Once the DNA test confirms you're my sister, anyone who harmed you will pay. Gasps ran through the crowd. Rachel's face twisted in disbelief. Impossible. How could she be the Miller's lost daughter? Eric shook his head, skeptical. Grace grew up in foster care. Sure, the last name matches, but that doesn't make her part of New York's wealthiest family. Daniel, you must be mistaken. They couldn't, or wouldn't, accept it. David's face drained of color, panic flashing in his eyes. Mr. Miller, what's happening? Daniel's tone was cold and precise. My baby sister was stolen from us shortly after birth. We've been searching for her ever since. This afternoon, Grace contacted us. She has a birthmark on her left shoulder, exactly like the one my sister had. My parents are at home, awaiting the DNA results. If she's not my sister, fine. Your grudges remain your business. But if the test confirms she is, even if I forgave you, my parents never would. Pray for yourselves. The crowd erupted in astonishment. David and his cronies went pale, terror written across their faces. I only smiled, cold and sharp, feeling the satisfaction of finally holding the upper hand. In my past life, after Rachel framed me and Eric abandoned me, I had learned about the Miller family's search for their missing daughter. They had even published notices with a photo, highlighting a tiny, circular birthmark on the child's shoulder. And I had the same mark. It had been a lifeline, a chance I never got to seize. David had stopped me before I could reach out, leaving me to die. Now, reborn, I had contacted them first. I sent the Millers a photo showing the birthmark. That's why Daniel had arrived, bodyguards in tow, right on time. The crowd's gaze shifted, curiosity giving way to astonishment. The live stream chat exploded. No way. Could she really be the Miller's daughter? Even if she is, it doesn't erase the awful things she's done. Maybe the birthmark is just a coincidence. Many still hurled insults, clinging to their outrage. Rachel's eyes burned with fury. Even if you are the Miller's daughter, Grace, it doesn't erase the evil you've done. She tried to cling to condemnation, to avoid taking the fall herself. Eric's face twisted, unease plain, but he no longer dared speak against me. Calculating, he realized siding with me could be to his advantage. David's expression was grim, torn between fear and frustration. Offending the Millers was unthinkable, yet backing down stung his pride. Daniel's gaze swept to Rachel, sharp and cold. Then he spoke. Who's truly vicious? Let's find out. He produced a tablet and pressed play. Rachel's call to me, begging for help to deceive David, echoed across the square. Then a video played, Rachel and her lover, arm in arm, kissing and entering a hotel. The crowd gasped in shock. So all this was Rachel's doing. She claimed Grace drugged her and humiliated her? Look at her in the video. She's clearly enjoying herself. She's the real villain. She lied to everyone. She cheated and then framed her best friend. She deserves the harshest punishment. The fury shifted entirely to Rachel. Her face went pale as she screamed, "It's fake. The call, the video, it's all fabricated. I didn't do this." Daniel sneered. "David, when you stormed the hotel, the lover tried to escape through a window, didn't he?" "Yes," David stammered. Daniel signaled, and his bodyguards pushed forward a young man, battered and bruised, ready to testify. The young man Daniel's bodyguards brought forward was the same lover caught on Rachel White's video. Trembling, he pointed at her. "She paid me 50 grand a month," he admitted, voice shaking, "and even said she'd have my child so it could inherit David Smith's fortune." David's composure finally shattered. With a roar, he punched the young man, then turned on Rachel, kicking her to the ground. Her screams filled the square, but he ignored them, raining down relentless blows. Eric Johnson, meanwhile, stepped back, guilt written all over his face, and moved toward me. "Honey, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have listened to them," he murmured. I slapped him sharply across the face, cutting him off. Coldly, I said, "Eric, save the act. I've had enough of your hypocrisy. You wanted a divorce? Fine. Consider it done. From now on, we're finished. Don't dare put on that fake remorse in front of me again." Panic flickered in his eyes. He stammered, "No, really, I was wrong. I swear from now on, everything I do will be for you." A sharp slap cut him off, but it wasn't me. Daniel Miller had struck him, glaring with contempt. "Rachel's vile," Daniel said, voice cold. "But you, Eric, are worse. You introduced this man to her, instructed him to secretly record her, planning to blackmail her. You weren't satisfied being dependent on David's company, so you tried to profit from this scheme. Am I wrong? I've encountered many deceitful men, Daniel continued, but you, Eric, are among the foulest. The crowd gasped, stunned into silence. Eric went pale and tried to defend himself.
Lies.
You think being heir to the Miller fortune gives you the right to slander me? I'll sue. Daniel sneered and turned to the battered young man, who nodded frantically. It was Eric who connected me to Rachel. He told me to record her secretly, then use the evidence to extort her. The goal was to ruin David's company and line our pockets. He even promised me a new identity, so I could disappear with the money. The crowd erupted in outrage. This was the truth I had only learned in my past life, right before my death. I had never had the chance to expose it. Now, seeing Eric's despair, I finally felt vindicated. Reborn, my revenge was complete. David, Rachel, and Eric would never know peace again. Rachel collapsed, fainting. Whether from David's beating or the revelation of Eric's betrayal, no one could tell. David's fury only intensified. He lunged at Eric, but Daniel had no interest in watching the chaos. He grabbed my arm and led me away, calm and protective. By nightfall, all the online slander vanished. The trending topics David had paid for were gone. If I truly was the Miller family's long-lost daughter, consequences for my enemies were inevitable. Days later, the DNA test results arrived. My heart leapt. I was indeed their daughter. Soon after, the Miller family announced a homecoming gala at month's end, inviting relatives and friends to celebrate the return of their long-lost daughter. That same day, public apologies flooded the internet. Media outlets and influencers who had smeared me, paid off by David, scrambled to retract their statements. I accepted none. By nightfall, all had been permanently banned. David's downfall was swift. The Millers withdrew their investments and launched campaigns against his businesses. No one dared step in to save him. Within 2 weeks, he was bankrupt. Rachel, physically and emotionally broken from David's abuse, filed for divorce and demanded massive compensation. Eric's company collapsed shortly after, losing its biggest client and suffering under the Miller family's subtle threats. Unable to survive, he liquidated assets and fled out of state. Justice had been served, but my past life suffering demanded more. Daniel smiled gently. Little sister, I promised you, anyone who hurts you meets a bad end. Don't worry, they're finished. On the day of the homecoming gala, the news arrived. Eric had died in a gruesome car accident out of state, hit by an old, unlicensed dump truck. The day before their court hearing, David and Rachel were found drowned in the Hudson River, limbs broken. I hesitated, glancing at Daniel, but he smiled warmly. The gala's starting.
Come on stage, he said.
Seeing Daniel's gentle expression and my parents' kind smiles, I returned the smile. Some questions didn't need answers. Finding my family was my greatest blessing. Thank heaven for a second chance. All I wished for now was a life of peace, free from the entanglement of such vile people.